Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you here to Silverstone, a once-used airfield during the Great World Wars, now a host to one of the greatest racetracks for one of the fastest, if not the fastest racing series in the world. I'm Insane Leader 13. I'm being joined in the broadcast booth today by XRL Torpedo. Torpedo, it's a pleasure to work with you. I've never worked with you before. I'm looking forward to a first time doing this today.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well, and I'm hoping we'll have a fun season in X3.
So for those of you who are not aware, real quickly, we're going to go ahead and run down your driver listing. Things have changed up. Some drivers have advanced, some drivers have retired, some drivers have come out of X3 and gone to X2, some have gone from Dev back to here. In the Mercedes team, it's XRL Fritz and Fratters. For the Scuderia Ferrari, it's Ozda and Plastic XVE. Then in the Aston Martin Red Bull team, it's Smish and Turbo. For the McLaren team, it's XRL Jono and Retro Rixie. Rixie is a former champion in the series, and he was able to bring the Tracing Point into a manufacturer's title last season. Now he's in the McLaren. That's an interesting shakeup we'll be looking forward to. In the Renault team, it's XRL Snake and XRL Whippy, while in the Scuderia AlphaTauri team, it's Gusty and Collie Boy. Then in the Racing Point team, the defending championship team, it's new faces with Schold and Constant Jet 1141. For the Alfa Romeo team, it's Rahul 941 and Boothie 116. For the Haas team, Unarmed Drake 822 is representing, and in the Williams, it's going to be JL Ben and XXX Books XXX. And today, our first race of this new season is going to be here at Silverstone. So real quickly, go ahead, Torpedo, run us through the main differences when it comes to the calendar this year compared to the last 2 years in X3.
There's a shorter number of tracks that are in the for this year, and yes, so we'll be going to some tracks like Azerbaijan, Bahrain, Canada, the Netherlands, Australia, Singapore, Spain, Austria, Belgium, Hungary, Mexico, Italy, France, and Brazil. So we are missing like some tracks like Japan and others.
True, I still maintain that it's a complete travesty that we're leaving out Monaco and Japan, but either way, we're going to be looking at a shorter season. Big focus is going to be on making sure that you get big swaths of points. Over a longer season, typically it's more favored to get into kind of a rhythm and just have a good high average finish. With these shorter seasons, you need to earn as many points as you can per race. Just coming home 3rd, 4th, 5th all the time may not be enough if someone is really hot and cold, but their hot and cold is 1st and 8th, 1st and 8th, 1st, 8th, things like that. That's the way the point system is set up. But we're here at Silverstone today. It's been Silverstone this entire weekend. The Dev League and the Realistic Racing League was both here yesterday, and in the Realistic Racing League, it was a very, very wet session throughout qualifying session 2 and 3, and the race itself was pelting with rain. Here, we're looking at being a potentially dry race, though, and dry qualifying, so we may finally see what the actual pace looks like here on the acceleration focus circuit at Silverstone.
Yep, and obviously it'll be chaotic in some parts of the tracks, like turn 1, especially at the start. Like many places could be won or lost, so we'll see how clean the drivers will attempt it.
It was in the process of readying up. It's been a while since I've been able to do broadcasting for a race that's had a full field. This will be nice. For those of you not familiar with Formula One's qualifying procedures, qualifying is split into 3 tiers. The first tier separates the top 15 from the bottom 5, and the bottom 5 have their positions locked in. Qualifying session 2, the top 10 get separated from the drivers 11th through 15th, and everyone from 11th through 15th will still get their choice of tires that they want in the race, but drivers 1st through 10th are locked in to their tire choice for their race, and then qualifying session 3 is the top 10 drivers going balls to the wall for the best qualifying position possible. Point toward for pole position. It can make for some very, very interesting events all the way through.
And it looks dry. It looks dry for Q1, but we'll see how it will be for the rest of qualifying and the race.
Taking a real quick look, trying to see who the first car out on the track is going to be. I see some movements within the Ferrari pits right now, so they might try to be one of the first out. But no, it's going to be, it looks like that was the Renault. No, it's an AlphaTauri. It looks like the AlphaTauri of Quali Boy is going to be a first driver coming out onto the racetrack, making that slow little trek out from the pit lane before you accelerate full speed right into turn 2.
Asda's also going to be coming out second on the track.
That's Turbo, who was driving for the Ferrari team last year, now running in the Red Bull team this season. His teammate Smish, same scenario, was running a different team. Now they're both in the Red Bull, so a lot of faces are the same, but the cars that they're in have changed up from last year going into this year. Shoulder's another example. Shoulder's still in a Mercedes-powered car. However, he has gone from the Williams and upgraded up to the Tracing Point Mercedes, the Tracing Point Peak Mercedes here, as we see him on the run down to Max and Beckett's right now. One of the drivers who are in the factory Mercedes, though, now on their way out on the circuit. That is XRL Fritz, who has just moved onto the track. And that is number 34. As he goes through the technical sections in Sector 1 of the racetrack.
Looks like we're going to be seeing a bit of rain towards the end of the race. It's going to be dry to start off with. That is going to be a real interesting factor, especially like track position.
And the big thing that can change up is how you're going to set up your tire choice in qualifying. If the race itself starts dry, you know it starts dry, but you don't know how long it stays dry for, you might try to make it only a one-stop race. You could go ahead, throw on the soft tire compound, try to get as much distance off them as you can, and then try to make the intermediates last to the end. Or if you think the rain's not going to show up until the very end, mediums are a very suitable strategy to run on the mediums and spend as much time getting maximum laps as possible.
Yeah, that's
that gaggle of cars. Go ahead.
It's a train in qualifying. You usually see that in the race conditions.
Yeah, there are 5 different cars all kind of stacked around top of each other. Only 2 of them are teammates. That's Snake and Whippy. Both of them
Some of them are backing
laps.
off.
Big element about it. And someone's in the wall there. Someone went into the wall up there. I'm right on board. That's Fratters. Fratters went into the outside wall. Coming out, Maggots and Beckett's. I'm trying to see if there's any significant damage to that car. I don't see it, but that car most definitely lost it out of the final corner of Maggots and Beckett's and went right into the outside, not outside, but inside retaining wall before coming back onto the track at an angle. Times are now being set, and at the top, it's going to be the Ferrari of former commentator and former extra driver XRL also already trying to make a name for himself. He's being joined by Ferrari power at the top. That's Rahal 941 and Boothie 116. And the Alfa Romeo's second and third right now. Scholl is the highest non-Ferrari time right now, and he's turned a 126.525. And Collie Boy, who is the first driver out, has a 127.935. That's the highest Honda. No powered machines have set a lap time as of yet.
Oh, RB Llamas left the session. Shoes there on his front. Needs to get himself back in. Oh, Whippy went wide. On the exit of Cops corner. Bill got the lap valid. Probably lost a bit of
102.632
time.
at the end of sector 2. Down to that final chicane here. And the chicane itself is problematic enough that the real difficult part ends up being the very last corner. It's at just the right angle that it's really hard to take it full throttle and maintain good car control. You know, despite that incident, Torpedo, I think Whippy may have a serious chance for the pole. He set a 126.113 despite losing time back there.
Yeah. It's a strong case, and I think he has been doing a bit of practice, really. It really shows here with that time.
Right now I'm watching the tracing point from Constant Jets. He comes out back from Beckett and is now going down the second of the DRS straightaways here. Now the dive into that fourth to last corner, enters very, very wide, cuts in, puts the two tires right on the inside rumble strip, and comes shooting down. The Williams is going to pull out of the way. He overtakes the Haas, going into it, and invalidates. In an attempt to overtake the Haas, he invalidates the lap.
Oh, that is not good for Constant Jet there. He'll have to do another run, and that's probably wasting a set of tires if he does go back into the pits and puts on a new set.
Here comes Retro XC, your Season 1 X3 champion. He has now crossed the line with a time of 126.415. And very interesting thing, he has to get used to a different engine manufacturer, a different way of the car handling, different look. Hopefully when they come into pits, he doesn't make the mistake of driving into the wrong pit box, obviously. He's been running Racing Point for the last several seasons, but someone has come off there at the exit of Maggots and Beckett's. That's one of the Alfa Romeos, I believe. He's back underway, and that is Ritter. It looks like he had the same thing happen to him that we saw earlier to Fratters. The car just went wide coming out of the very last corner of those very technical S's. But he was in the middle of a flying lap and now has to abort and come into the pits. His current time, 126.167. That is the third best on the sheets at the moment. Books is another example of a driver who has gone through a carcade. As we see him going through that final chicane, trying 7 lap time. He was running Mercedes last season, but was very hot and cold, and really just could not keep up as the season wound down. His teammate Snake was able to put down a lot of good runs, but Books was struggling to keep up. He has now moved from the factory Mercedes team down to the Mercedes-powered Williams team. He has set a lap time of 126.009. That's the third fastest thus far. And the second fastest is the car that he used to drive. That's Fritz driving it in that AMG Petronas Mercedes. Holy Boy is on another outlap, and Gelman is on that outlap right now as well. Everyone else is in pit road, or has already set a lap time. So, of our 20 drivers, 20 drivers have set times. That's big focus on right now. The gap between Turbo and Holy Boy is 4/10 of a second, and the gap between Holy Boy and Unarmed Drake is another half second. So there's at least 9/10 out there for Turbo that he needs to find quickly, because there's only 9 minutes left in the session and 5 drivers who have yet to set time. See a little train of cars, trying to come into pit lane. I'm not saying that Gelbin, the other Williams, is currently running Sector 2. Had a purple Sector 1. Sector 1 is just a little bit wide there.
Lucky to keep it going as well. Going through Cop.
Ooh, wow, that was a
They lost a little bit of time there. Through the XRL Maggots and Beckett's.
a clean track ahead of him. Almost everyone else is into the pits for the moment. Final chicane, the curves right through it. It's going to run on the lap. 27.700, that's good enough for 14th right now.
Constant jets on that lap. One.
Fratters is also on an lap right now. He's in the second DRS right now. Llama is now on back, so they're 80 time to still set time. And now the game kicks him back up. We're gonna go here in the commentary booth for one lap as we ride on board with Fratters and the Mercedes. Mercedes tries to set a good time in qualifying session 1 at Silverstone. And he invalidates the lap. Alright, well, Yono is on this in a similar scenario, so we'll try and ride on board with Yono then for a silent lap instead. And that's one lap on board with XRL Yono in that powered player. And it's good time of 126.399. Meanwhile, at the top, Yono's teammate Retro went ahead and set the fastest time thus far, 125.867. So Retro outright trying to showcase some strong championship defense right now. Fratters and Llama are both in the pits and have yet to set times. Llama is having a horrible time trying to get properly connected into the session. Fratters attempted to set a time but invalidated and had to come back in. Turbo, Collie and Dale Bend are all right now on the outside looking in, as Dale Bend is now beginning to bring his Williams out onto the racetrack right now, and Llama has now officially retired from the session, so Llama will not set a time, and he will not advance, not even attempt to even set a time in Q2. And Fratter is still in the pits right now, though. Collie has a 127.935, despite being the first guy out on track. It's not really transferred into lap time, and he needs to find something right now, and he's not going to find something in the dirt there where he just ran off.
Also, Fratters needs to get a lap time in as well. He's in the pits, and he is going to come out onto the track as well. He needs a lap that is not invalidated, and it needs to be good as well for him to have a chance of being in Q2.
It's going to be very difficult for Fratters because he's right there in the middle of a pack of 4 cars, all trying to come out onto the racetrack, along with a Haas that's going to be breezing by right now. Alright, looks like the Haas will be by in time, but yeah, Fratters needs to get away from these other 3 drivers and get some clean racetrack as soon as possible here. Dale Bend's still on his outlap. Collie has come back in the pits. He has not been able to improve. Turbo is still in the pits as well. Unarmed Drake right now is right on the bubble. He's at Haas that's still out there. His current lap, he's 0.08 of a second slower than his prior one. He's 127.04 right now. And the driver right ahead of him on the timesheets, XRL Gusty, is also on an out lap as we speak.
Surprisingly, Fritz is on an out lap when he's P3 at the moment. Not sure why he's done that.
And Drake invalidates. Yeah, that is a very interesting decision. He might be out there trying to help his teammate Fratters get a little bit of a DRS draft assist, but right now they're not set up for that. Fritz is behind Fratters at the moment. So unless Fritz wants to pull over here on this DRS straight to let Fratters ahead, and that's exactly what they're going to do. So they're probably setting it up so that way Fritz can give a little bit of a DRS assist to Fratters, and Constant Jet is now retired from the session with a time of 126.886, as has Smish. A lot of drivers feeling no need to continue to turn laps.
It is sort of a risk for the Constant Jet to retire at that point, where drivers could improve, but he's taken the gamble.
The gap between Constant Jet right now and JL Bend, who is the first driver locked out at the moment, is roughly 9/10 of a second. I absolutely believe you could find 9/10 here, especially in the case of Fratters, who got a little bit of draft assist on the start-finish line.
And
he invalidates again. There is enough time, so as long as he has fuel, there is enough time for Fratters to get around and set another lap. It will be close, but he does have time to set one more lap attempt. Turbo and Collie-Boy are both on out laps as well, but they're going to be kind of a little bit... Oh, no. Turbo's just begun his lap right now. Collie-Boy is on an out lap as we speak, and it's going to be very close for him to make it to the start-finish line in time to set a time. JL Bend is out on the circuit in the middle of a lap right now, and at the end of Sector 1, he is down by an entire 10th of a second. Drake is also out on track, but his current lap is invalid, and with only 50 seconds left, I don't know if he's going to be able to get back to the start-finish line in time to set another lap.
Turbo went quicker through the first sector by a small margin, so we'll see how his second sector can do.
30 seconds left, and
oh,
here comes
the Williams is gone.
And JL Bend!
He lost it.
The car is destroyed. And he was not able to set a time that would make him get into the next round. So right now it's between Collie-Boy, Turbo, and Fratters. Can any of them do anything? Turbo's just spun it right there in Maggots and Beckett's. And with only 7 seconds left, that means that Turbo is going to lose any chance of advancing. Collie-Boy is down 2/10. Fratters only at 27.645 at the end of Sector 1.
Two drivers have literally blown their chances of getting into Q2.
And Collie-Boy blows it! He's just invalidated! It's all down to Fratters now.
Nearly invalidated.
Yeah. In the hospital, Drake has got to be sweating bullets right now because Fratters might have what it takes to knock him out. No one knows what pace that Mercedes has. Well, I'll say that much. If he keeps dipping tires into the grass like that, he's going to lose some of that pace.
It is going to be a close one.
Last chicane for the last time. Avoids the curbs all the way through. Now powers out that final corner at the time.
He's done it.
He did it! By roughly 25 hundredths, he knocks unarmed Drake out at the last moment and will make it into the next session. And that means our qualifying session is over. And it looks like neither of the Haas's, Unarmed Drake or Llama, will make it into Q2. Llama was not able to set a single lap time, and Unarmed Drake set multiple laps. They just ended up not being enough. At the end, the Williams and JL Bend ended up bending it and destroying the car while pushing. Turbo spun the car out while pushing, so neither of them were able to advance. And Collie-Boy, despite putting in more track time than almost anyone else, was just not able to get a good lap in whatsoever. Alright, so from 15th on up, it's Fratters in the Mercedes, Gusty in the AlphaTauri, Plastic Love in the Ferrari, Constant Jet and Schold in the Racing Point, Snake in the Renault, Jono in the McLaren, Smish in the Red Bull, Boothie and Rahal in the Alfa Romeo, Whippy in the Renault, Books in the Williams, Fritz in the Mercedes, Ozda in the Ferrari, and Retro Ixie is your fastest driver at the end of Q1 in that McLaren.
And now we're going to be heading into Q2. And now it's going to get interesting from now.
Yes, and we've talked so many times about how in Q2, the interesting thing that occurs is that we see a lot of drivers going early on, focusing on tire strategy. And then as the session winds down, and they start, the drivers in the back of the field realizing, oh crap, my mediums aren't fast enough to get me into the top of the sheets, they start throwing strategy out the window and start trying to turn softs, and it makes for a lot of crazy shifting in the middle and bottom of the field towards the end of qualifying session 2. I absolutely love it when Q2 is like that. My two favorite things, I think, is when that happens or when Q2 starts wet and the track gradually dries out as it goes on. It's absolutely fantastic to watch.
Who's going to be the first one out on the track, and what tyre are they going to be going out on? We see a few drivers fitted the mediums. And it is going to be as they're going out first on mediums.
Looks like it's a relatively even spread right now between mediums and softs across everybody. And Ozda, who is the first driver. Oh, Ozda's actually going to get beaten, it looks like, by one of the Alfa Romeos. And that would be Rahal. Yeah, it's Rahal who is going to be the first car actually out on track. Ozda tried to beat him, but pit selection is everything, I guess.
And as the spawner. Always
ready. Did the car just reset itself, or did he? No, he's facing backwards on the racetrack. Oh my, that was that's a little dangerous.
And that's brought heat into his tires, which is something he wouldn't want, like, immediately.
It's definitely put some heat into the tires, but it's going to also run the risk of flat spotting the tires, considering that as the car would be turning around, the tires would not be going through the normal contact path and contact friction with the ground. He pulls over there to let that McLaren go by. Now he gets going again. He's just trying to find some clean track at the moment, it seems. One of the Williams is now on his way out of the pit lane. That is going to be Books. Actually, the only Williams still is. His teammate was not able to advance. So Books is now on the way, coming out of the pit lane and dives into turn 2 and then jumps hard onto the brakes. It's a good way to get some heat into the tires is the fact that coming right out of pit lane, you end up right in very technical sections on this circuit. Excuse me. Anyways, Smish, Schold, Rahal have all crossed the line and are now beginning their first flying laps. Here comes Jono. He's one of the drivers rated on the soft tire compads as he begins his first flying lap here. Behind him, that's Ozda, who's now setting up. Is the AlphaTauri of Gusty, who has just begun his lap as well. Gusty's going to be one of the drivers on the mediums. So right at outset, it was a pretty even spread between mediums and soft. It looks like the trend has gone a little bit more to mediums now at this point in the session. I imagine closer to the end, we'll see the trend going back towards softs, though. Gusty at the end of Sector 1, 27.801. Is that Ozda again who spun it? No, that's not Ozda. That's the other Ferrari. That's Plastic Love. So the Plastic Love has just spun it in the same place that his teammate Ozda spun on the first lap. So now I'm starting to wonder if there may be a setup issue at low speed with those Ferraris, causing them to go around. Oh, that's Gusty! little damage to the car. We've seen 3 different spins, but no serious damage to any of the cars yet. Ray Hall is currently at the top of the timesheets with a 126.407.
As just now coming through the final couple of corners, and what's he going to put? 26.1, and it's top of the timesheet for now.
Mazda, who has been out of a car in the XRL League for about half a year, got a chance to jump back in for Dev a few months ago, and then a chance to jump in as a reserve in the last race of the last X3 season. Put on a very strong showing there, and now he's trying to really back that up by being at the top of the timesheets through most of Q1, and now trying to do the same thing here in Q2 in that Ferrari. That's a little spin. He's not going to let a little spin get involved in him. I've roasted him day in and day out in the broadcast booth. Spin's nothing compared to that. Everyone has now switched to the mediums except for Books, who is still out there with softs. And no, Constantine has also gone to the mediums as well, so Books is the only driver who's on the soft tire compound. So a lot of drivers seem to think that the rain will come very late in the race, and the ideal setup would be to start on the medium tire compound, go as far as you can on those until the rain comes, and then jump onto the intermediates or full whites to paint on if rain shows up. Which could also be very interesting, because if rain doesn't show up and everyone ends up locked into a medium to soft strategy, we won't see as much overtakes in pit road due to pace. It would all have to be more based on DRS and driver ability. So very interesting setup we're looking at right now.
Also, with these strategies these guys are planning, they could always fire the window with like damage on first laps, safety cars as well. So that is also something we could take into account.
You make the absolute perfect point there. Gusty is recovered back from his spin and is going to set his flying lap here as he comes out of that final corner. His time is a 127.615. The most interesting time right now in the time sheet, so I think, is Fritz. Only a 130.021. There's a lot more time in that car. No, there's more time in that car. I'm not 100% sure what happened to him that kept him from setting a faster lap time earlier. Oh, and now Gusty's gone around. Gusty's now gone around in the same place that we saw the 2 Ferraris go around. So the turn 4, 3, 4, 5 complex have been very, very difficult. Now Gusty has invalidated the lap. Somehow, I don't know how, but it's not like it matters. He was already around, but that was weird. Oh, and someone else has gone off there. That's Boothie, and Boothie has spun out there at the exit of turn 2. He's back underway now.
Books is 120. It is one of the soft tires. That is something. Now Constant Jets coming through the final few corners on the mediums. What's he gonna put? 127.473 puts him into 6th place for them now.
And now I'm watching Fratters as he makes that long run down, high-speed run down to Maggots and Beckett's. Very, very aggressive hitting the curves with the left side of the car, but not so aggressive with the right side though. Nearly dumping the tires into the grass. 104.145 at the end of that sector. Now into the last 4 corners. The 4th to last corner is this long, sweeping, slight uphill, more than 90-degree right-hander, then a little run down into the 2 corners that make up that final chicane. He's gonna put the car right on the curbing for the left side tires again. Then that really tricky final corner, his time is gonna be a 128.098. There's a lot more time on there for Fratters, I'm sure of it.
He has got time to go on a set of softs and go get a faster lap time that will probably get him through to Q3. Meanwhile, Whippy is coming through the final straight, the DR straight. Now he's going to be coming through the final sequences of corners. But yeah, he dives into the pits, so Whippy must have not been happy with that lap.
It wasn't going to be like an amazing lap, but it definitely was looking like it would be practical, and that would at least get him to around 7th or 8th. So I am curious as to why he decided to abort. Retro Rexy right now, who timesheets at the end of Q1 is out there trying to set a lap right now in the McLaren. He has already begun his flying lap. Plastic Love in the other Ferrari is also out there right now. So he's running through the Beckett's complex right now, trying to make something happen. 103.109 at the end of Sector 2. Now we dive for the last 4 corners. Will be the 11th driver to set a time. I imagine he'll beat Boothie's time without too much of an issue. But anything beyond that, we'll be interested to see. At the line, 26.958. Boothie is now on the outside looking in. Oh, and that's a very slow McLaren coming out of the pits. He came out extremely slow. I believe that was Jono. Not sure what's going on there. Right now, there listening to be 4 cars on the racetrack right now. Retro 103.206 at the end of Sector 2. He topped the timesheets at the end of Q1. Will he be able to replicate that feat here in Q2? I'm not so sure because the guy at the top right now, Books, has the soft tire compromise.
Here he goes now through the final few corners. Looks a decent lap, 126.9 puts him into 6.
Now Fratters is also on the outside looking in. And now his teammate, Retro's teammate Jono is on the run down into Max and Beckett's. And there's a Ferrari who's gone off there.
He's gone off.
Way off. So far off that thankfully it shouldn't cause too much of an issue for the drivers around him. But it looks like the car just kind of straight line. And Jono has pulled over on the straight to enable the Alfa Romeo of Boothie to go by. So Boothie is going to try and set an actual true fast lap here.
Mazda has
retired from the session.
Happy with that lap. He thinks he's safe, which should be. We're heading for the last few minutes now. We should be seeing drivers coming out from that in the next few seconds on the softs, especially the ones that think that they're not safe.
Already seen Fratters, who's currently on the outside looking in, and Gusty, who is right on that bubble spot, swapping over to softs. Fratters is already on his way out of pit lane.
Boothie is
on his way out there. I will figure this out eventually. I'm sorry for keep cutting you off. I'm not trying to. I will eventually figure out the flow to work with you, so I'm not cutting you off all the time. I'm not trying to do that intentionally. I do hope you realize that.
We'll get there eventually. Oh, Boothie's went off wide, and he's validated that lap time. And the exit of Cops just went too far off the curb and has invalidated it.
I'm not 100% sure Boothie has enough fuel in that thing to go around another time.
Jono's just using his slipstream to gain that extra bit of time.
Boothie's gonna try it. He must think that he has either enough fuel or enough fuel to at least die trying. Ray Hall is now retired from the session. He feels no need to continue as Jono goes up to 4th.
Snake goes 7th, 4 minute 26.904. And so now
Whippy is the last driver to have not set a time. And Constant Jet retires from the session. He must realize that for whatever reason he can't improve because he's on the outside looking in. That's a very strange decision, but okay, I guess. I mean, if you realize there's no way for you to improve, I guess might as well not take up more track space for the others, but it's still strange. I thought for sure he could have at least made another run for a better lap time. Whippy 102.644 at the end of Sector 2, so Whippy's trying to set up for a good lap here, running through those last 4 corners now.
Books has gone and put a quicker lap time, 1 minute 25.2. And a fresh set of softs.
1:26.043 for Whippy. That's good enough for second.
And that puts Plastic Love.
Fradders and Gusty are both out there on the soft tires, as is Plastic Love, who is on his out lap.
Fradders only improved up to P13. Like, it's not good enough for him to go through. Gusty's invalidated his lap. It's going to be tight for him if he wants to set another lap time.
26 seconds left for Gusty. He needs to get to that start-finish line as soon as possible. I think he'll make it, though. There's 19 seconds left, and he's going through that final chicane right now. So he'll have one last chance at this. Fradders is slower by 1.2 seconds at the end of Sector 1. So it's not likely he's going to improve either. Smish in the Red Bull is coming down. He's slower by 1.15 seconds also, so he will not be able to improve. Plastic Love on the softs. He has one last chance, as does Gusty, to get back into Q3.
Oh, he's lost it. He lost the back end. Plastic Love lost the back end, and I think he's lost a bit of time, but he's still going to go at it, I think.
He's weaving on the straight like he doesn't realize that was it. That was his last lap. He's already down 1.4 seconds, so it's over for him. It's all coming down to Gusty now, and Gusty is way slow. Gusty is 4.6 seconds down on time. So our session has basically artificially ended very early. Schold is out there, still setting a flying lap right now. He was 36 hundredths up at the end of Sector 1, but lost all that and ended up being more than a tenth down at the end of Sector 2, so he's not going to improve. He may be bringing it into the pits, realizing that there's no point continuing. That's exactly what he's going to do now. That means that this session, for all intents and purposes, is ended. We didn't see as many drivers rushing to go from the mediums to softs like we normally do in Q2. It made for a much more reserved qualifying session 2 than what we're used to. But it's now Books who tops the timesheets, and Retro, who was at the top of the timesheets at the end of Q1, just barely makes it in by only 0.02 of a second.
And now we're going to be heading into the top 10 shootout. Who can get pole? It's going to be a tight one, I think.
I do want to say one other thing. Looking at all the drivers who swapped to softs, the only two drivers that actually ended up benefiting in the end was Schold and Books. They're going to be starting on softs. Everyone else in the top 10 will be starting on the medium tire compound. So that could be very, very interesting going into the race itself, because those two are going to be faster. If they can get 1 or 2 laps in, they avoid any damage, they'll be fine. Anyways, the top 10 going into the next set. Well, Plastic Love is going to get eliminated in the Ferrari. Smish is going to get eliminated in the Red Bull. Fradders eliminated in the Mercedes. Constant Jet in the Racing Point eliminated, and Gusty in the AlphaTauri eliminated. Retro in the McLaren, Snake in the Renault, Schold in the Racing Point all making in, as does Fritz in the Mercedes, Yono in the McLaren, Rahal and Boothie in the Alfa Romeos, Ozda in the Ferrari, Whippy in the Renault, and Books in the Williams. Oh, and that's interesting. Actually, Books was the only driver in the top 10 to set their fastest time on the soft. So I was a little bit wrong there. So Books is going to be in a very, very unique position compared to the other 9 drivers around him. Huh.
Shold's soft time was slower than his medium, so that's why I think Schold will start on the mediums.
Alright, is it me, or is are the clouds getting a little bit more darker and more ominous here?
Yeah. When I said the clouds were going to get darker, I thought maybe we could be seeing some rain. But we're going to have to see. It's Q3.
Awesome, once again, trying to be the first driver to get out onto the racetrack, and I think he might be able to do it this time. Got denied at the last moment, and it's going to be right behind him is going to be the Alfa Romeo of Rahal. Rahal has been kind of a silently fast person throughout the first 2 qualifying sessions. Now it's his time to really explode. Whippy, who was at the top of the time sheets at the end, well, second highest in the time sheets at the end of Q2 is going to be the third car coming out onto the circuit. Then you have that Mercedes-powered Williams of Books coming out as well. Then you have Boothie a little bit farther back. He's going to be joined by the McLarens of Retro Rixie and Jono. Then behind them, the next driver who will be coming onto the track will be XRL Fritz in the Mercedes. And now here we are, roughly 11 minutes of running here. Give or take a little bit of time at the end, depending on how many drivers will finish up at the end. Only 10 cars on track. Now drivers will be in a position where they have a lot more clean track and they can focus a lot more. They don't have to worry about dodging floor cars as much. And already shoulders coming out, so we have everyone except for State basically trying to set a lap as soon as possible. Thankfully enough, it looks like the gaps between everyone are pretty respectable, so I don't imagine we'll see anyone having to keep up with anybody else here. At least not at the start.
And as is now about to start his flying lap. The thing is, can he get pole in his first full-time X3 race? And actually, who will get the first X3 race of the new season? That will be interesting, and we'll find out very soon.
Without a doubt, X3 had one of the best races in its entire existence at this track last season, where we had 4 drivers all fighting it out for the win over the entire race. And it wasn't, oh, they were all on top of each other. It was a very, very silent, thoughtful, methodically thought out battle. In the end, the victory went to Retro Rixie, but we saw it was just a very, very intriguing and stimulating race, both for the mind and the heart. Hopefully we'll see a repeat of that kind of classy level of ability here today.
And usually the first race of the season makes people like say, oh, this is what I can do. I want to impress on the first race.
102.350 at the end of Sector 2 for Azda in that Ferrari. Now he dives into the last 4 corners once more.
Roll has invalidated his lap, so he'll have to go and try again. And he goes and dives into the pits as the 25-7.
Here comes Whippy. He's coming across the line. 125.476. And Retro is going to be the next one across. His time is going to be 125.696. Yono will come and follow shortly afterwards with 126.005. And we'll see the Williams of Books, who's validated his lap, and then Fritz in the Mercedes is going to come by. He will be the 5th person set a time with a 125.856.
Schold right now comes through. Let's see what he's going to produce. Goes 6, 1 minute 26.3.
Significantly farther off from what we were expecting. And then Snake is the next driver who will come down. He set a 102.500 at the end of Sector 2 as he's now coming through that 4th to last corner on that run down to the final chicane right now. And 7th driver set a lap time in this session. As they come around the final corner, the other Renault has a good enough time for a 125.999. Boothie has gone off! Boothie has destroyed the car there in Maggots and Beckett's! Oh, wow!
Well, they just a simple loss of the back end, and he just speared off. And that not be good for Boothie. Indeed. Not able to sell that pumpkin through.
Everyone is now diving it into the pit lane to try and go ahead and put new tires on the car, fuel up for another attempt. Snake is still out on the track as he was one of the last drivers drivers to go ahead and set a time, but everyone else is either in the pits or not. Rahal is a big exception because Rahal invalidated early on, so he decided to come back to the pits early on to refuel up. So he's the only car on track right now, truly pushing for a flying lap. As he's coming out of Magnus and Beckett's right now. He's on an out lap at the moment, so his next lap will be his next flying one. And then the Renault that's behind him, that's Snake, and Snake, I believe, is on a cooldown, considering he's not even utilizing the ERS. I think we'll see him duck into the pits here. Mazda was the first one out earlier on, and now he's trying to be the first one out again for the second round of set laps.
Validated on turn 1.
So that means right now, the only 2 cars on the track not in a position to set a new lap time, so we're going to be waiting for about a minute and some change before we start actually seeing new times set. The sky is still looking very dark and ominous, but I'm not seeing any rain yet. Retro Rixie is now beginning his out lap as well, but there are still 7 drivers in pit lane who are not making the moves to come out onto the racetrack, at least not yet. Nope, there we are. Just as I said that, Books is now on his way out in the Williams. Rahal, I imagine, is going to come right into the pits and then load it up to try again. There's only going to be about 4 minutes left when he gets into the pit box, so he's going to have to make this extremely fast. No, he's staying out on the track. He believes he has enough fuel in ERS to try it again.
And now Alistair is about to set his final lap time. Well, it could be. He will have time for another one if he invalidates this one or doesn't improve. We'll see.
Onto that first DRS straight is Rahal now. He's coming down to the line at the end of Sector 1, 27.095. That's respectable. Rahal and Books are the 2 drivers who have yet to set time, and now everyone is beginning to feeding frenzy their way out of pit road, trying to set up for their next flying lap. Past the old start-finish line in that Alfa Romeo, down around that long sweeping 90-degree right-hander on the high-speed run down to Maggots and Beckett's once more. Yes, barely playing the car on the curbs on the exit of each corner through there. DRS open 101.995 at the exit of Sector 2. This may be a good lap if he doesn't make a mistake in these last 4 corners.
Has just gone quicker in the first and second sector, so he could challenge Whippy's lap pole time for the moment.
Last corner for the Alfa Romeo. The 8th driver to set a time goes to the top, 125.362. And now it's Mazda's turn. What will he do? 125.475.
Does it improve? Retro has backed off his lap. He has time to go again. Whippy is on an out lap.
With his usage of ERS. This is it. And now Books. This is going to be the wild card. Books needs to qualify as high as he can in order to get the maximum usage of the soft tires that he's going to start the race on. 102.115 at the end of Sector 2.
Retro's gone slightly quicker in the first sector, but it won't be enough.
Whippy is on an outlap, and of note, right now, Whippy is only 1,000th of a second slower than Mazda. At the line, Books, good enough for second, 125.383. Schold was up by 15 hundredths at the end of Sector 1. At the end of Sector 2, he's up by almost half a second. That might not be enough to let him contend for a top spot, but it would be an impressive improvement when it comes to starting position. That in itself would lock him up into at least 7th, if not 6th, if he can maintain it going through these last few corners. Behind him on racetrack is, and Rahal is retired from the session. He is not feeling need to go again. Scholl, good enough for 7th, 125.874. Here comes Retro Rixie now into the last corner. He improves, but it's not going to be an improvement that will move him up the grid any.
Whippy comes through the first sector. Now doesn't improve.
Snake in the other Renault is coming out. Magnussen Beck's at the exit sector 2. He is down on time by almost half a second, so Snake is not going to be able to improve where he is. There's only 11 seconds left right now. So the lap that everyone is currently on will be their final lap.
Oh, Whippy's made massive improvement in the second sector.
Whippy in the Red Bull car last season was able to win at Singapore, holding off some of the best in the business. Now he's trying to mark himself as one of the best in the business, going for a potential pole run here at the end of Q3. Coming to the line. It's enough!
He does it!
125.110! Scholl is going to retire into the pits. He is not able to improve. Retro Rixie is still out there, but he hasn't validated his lap, and Yono hasn't validated also. This means that everyone has set their final lap time. The session is done. Time's up. Over. Plow.
That way,
And in the end,
one from
Whippy
Whippy.
very interesting season here. Retro Rixie did not come out as dominant as some of us, me, were expecting him to. He's having a lot of conflict against Ozza and Whippy, at least when it comes to qualifying in the first race of the season. I'll be interested to see how that sets up the way the season goes going forward. But anyways, as we look at the top 10, go ahead and run them down for us, Torpedo.
We got Whippy on pole with Rail in second. Then you got Books and Asda in third and fourth. Retro in fifth. Jono in sixth. And you got Fritz and Scholl seventh and eighth. And Snake ninth. And Boofy failed to set a time in Q3 and will be starting 10th.
And again, dark clouds ominously looming overhead. Now we had similar weather conditions at this race in X3 last season, and no rain ended up falling in the race. So some of these drivers might be hoping that happens. I'll be very interested because with the threat of rain coming in the latter bits of the race, that could make for a very, very interesting scramble. The first driver to time the swap onto intermediates or full wet tires will be in a very, very good position in the event itself. Oh, look at that! The sky is cleared up! The sky has cleared up! This also means that the track is going to be a little bit warmer at the start here. Also, I do want to say one other thing. Books, although it's not a pole position, Books qualified very, very high. And like I said earlier, he's the only driver in the top 10 to start on the soft tire compounds. If he can get a really, really good run off the line, he might be able to jump into the lead, open up a bit of a gap, and put himself in a very, very good position going forward. He needs to maximize his race start in order to maximize the potential of those soft tires. The longer and longer you stay behind someone else and stay in their aero wake, the faster and faster your tires are going to die. Excuse me, the faster and faster your tires are going to die off here.
Yeah, so he basically just needs to get that track position early on, build a gap, and That's good enough for him to come out in a okay position. But he will be probably held up, most likely, in traffic.
There's also obviously the entire issue about the rundown into turn 1. Turns 1, 2, and 3 all very, very difficult, with 3 being a very, very heavy braking zone. The field may not be properly separated. We've seen incidents before in all the tiers where drivers have had their races ruined in those first 3 corners here. This track very acceleration focused, so everyone focuses on acceleration and the betterment of themselves. Considering the way this race could go with rain later on, you may not be able to make up those positions in the event itself. So maximizing position gains at the start of the race is going to be extremely critical. Currently on standby, we're waiting for the race itself to get properly underway here at Silverstone. We're going to be looking at full field of cars running here. Sunny skies with very, very light cloud cover right now, but we are being told that there is a threat of rain descending on the track later in the event. When it comes to tire strategy, it's going to be very interesting as 9 of the top 10 drivers all start on mediums. Books is the only one in the exception. He's going to be starting on the soft tire compounds. This is the first race of the 3rd season of X3. It's a truncated season with a randomized track ordering. Only 15 tracks on the schedule rather than 21. And we could be looking at a very, very interesting run because Season 1 champion Retro Rixie is being met with a lot of fight back from Whippy and Ozda in the timesheets. We're going to be very interested to see how that transfers going into the race itself. And Boothie, despite the fact that he's finally out of those cursed Haas cars, still continues to be having issues in the race despite having some immense driver pace.
Meanwhile, I say at the top 10, you got Fridays and Plastic Love on the softs. I think they will probably change it before the race will begin. And we are readying up for the race.
Alright, Torpedo, will you do me a favor?
Yep.
Would you be willing to focus on the back of the field while I try focusing on the front at the race start?
Should be chaotic.
Oh yeah. Anyways, 4 lights, 5 lights. And it's lights out, and away we go here at Silverstone, and one of the racing points are not able to get away at the start. Look at that! The entire back of the field absolutely annihilates themselves. Unknown Drake is knocked out. Boothie has significant damage on the car right now. The entire back end of the field is absolutely destroyed right now. And the field is put under the virtual safety car. I'm honestly shocked that it wasn't the full course safety car. But we saw right there the racing point. It looked like the racing point of Constant Jet did not get going at the start, and the entire field just plowed into each other trying to avoid him.
As the fell down, he's now 12th. That is not the best start for him. He doesn't have front wing damage though, which is okay for him. You got like Boofy, Constant Jet, Jono, Smish, and RB Llama were all involved in that accident.
We are now going green here as the field comes across the old start-finish line. Oh, and now there's a Ferrari going on! Who is that? There's a Ferrari skidding across the track sideways. This plastic glove who just barely gets avoided by several other drivers, so both of the Ferraris having significant issues here at the start of the race.
Not a good start from the Ferraris. Because the opening lap, quite a lot of the drivers have got penalties as well. You got Jono and Smish already on 15 seconds worth of penalties of causing collisions.
Now I'm going to be interested to see who comes into the pits to have to repair damage. I see the Racing Point, that's Shoal who's coming in. Now here comes Collie Boy, he's going to be coming in. RB Llama is coming in. Plastic Love is staying out, but Boofy looks to be coming in as well. Jono is coming into the pits, and I believe Constant Jet and Smish will also be coming in. So a lot of the drivers in the back of the field coming in, having to repair wing damage early on in this event. But meanwhile, farther up in the field, Whippy is putting the stalking moves on Rahal right now, and Books is there in the third position with about a half-second gap between himself and the two cars ahead. Once DRS enables, which I imagine will be on the next lap, we could be looking at these three having a little bit of a battle. Farther back, Fritz is trying to make a move on Retro Ixie on the run down into Magus and Beckus. He's got the inside line. They're going to be neck and neck. Of note, Shoal, Llama, and Boothie have all swapped over onto the hard tire compounds. They might try and make those last as long as they can in the race. And there's a Mercedes who's gone off the circuit back there. That's Fratters. He's gone off before they get to Magus and Beckus. He has now fallen to 8th and now is holding up the Williams of JL Bin behind him. JL Bin is going to try and get by. He will be able to get by without too much of an issue. There's wing damage on that Mercedes and significant wing damage at that. JL Bin also seems to have a bit of wing damage as well. So Turbo is going to start blowing by both of them.
We've barely gone. Already, Smish has got 15 seconds worth of penalty, so he needs to be careful. Likes of Boofy, RB Llama, and Shoal have all gone onto the hard compound of tires. Smish has gone onto softs. And Smish has already been lapped by lap 3, so.
Ozda and Plastic Love are both in 10th and 11th position, so despite the fact that Ozda brought home a very good starting position, he ends up falling through the field relatively early on, as he's now 10th and roughly 4 seconds off. And now there's a virtual safety car. There's a Red Bull that's gone way off circuit there.
Smish has gone off.
That's Smish.
He's gone. He's retired. Not the best starts from Smish.
And that's a very interesting part on the track to go off at. We've seen drivers go around coming out of that corner, but typically when they go around, it's from putting the power down and the car spins into the outside wall. It looks like for Smish, the car spun into the inside wall instead. It's a very interesting circumstance there. But we should be going back under green very shortly here. That wreckage has already been cleared out. And there it is. And Collie Boy has a drive-through penalty he needs to serve for speeding, apparently, under the virtual safety car.
And now RB Llama is on the back of Collie Boy. He's not able to get past just yet. He just needs to wait a bit.
Look at this scenario here. We have two sets of potential battles brewing. The top three, Rahal, Whippy, and Books, all on top of each other. And then in a similar fashion, Fritz and Snake are around top of each other and not too far off with the back of Retro Rixie also. And if those three keep pulling themselves up, Gussie might end up pulling himself into that battle as well.
Probably come out and probably save them so they can catch up to the rest of the field. And RB Llama has just gone past Collie Boy for peace. And Coolie Boy is
coming in for his drive-through. DRS has been enabled. We kind of missed that when it first happened, but DRS is now enabled, and that's one of the ways that Fritz is closing in bit by bit on Retro, and Whippy is keeping the pressure up on Rahal right now.
I think Collie Boy could get lapped here. Yes, he is.
Down that first DRS straight, Whippy has the DRS, but Rahal had a better run coming onto the straight, so the DRS advantage is pretty much negated. Look, Rahal is taking a very, very interesting line through this long sweeping corner. He cuts in kind of tight from the corner behind, and then entering it, he cuts out way wide and isn't right on the inside apex of the corner. He takes a very, very even, rounded line around the entire thing. Whippy is much, much tighter, trying to make it a double apex corner. So a very interesting little difference between these two drivers when it comes to their racing line through that rounded corner there. Whippy made a bit of a mistake there going through Magnus and Becca. He's now going to fall a bunch off of Rahal going down the straight. In fact, he might come under threat from Books. Books still has those soft tires, and I think Books will still have 1 or 2 laps where he can really push on those. So he's doing to do whatever he can to hold on to the back of that Renault right now, I imagine. Mazda has finally caught Turbo back there in the 8th and 9th position. He's going to go to the inside. The Red Bull's not giving him a whole lot of room. He's really pinching him down. I don't think Mazda cares too much, though. He's going to sail right by without too much of an issue. There's actually a little bit of wing damage on Turbo's car. He has to come into the pits. And now Turbo has a time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Ouch. Whippy, this is the closest he's been on Rahal for a while now. He's within about a quarter of a second. But the two of them are taking radically different lines through these corners coming off of that first DRS straight. And because of that, it's helping Whippy a little bit. He's not losing as much downforce going through the corners, so it's enabling him to keep his tires at a more optimal temperature throughout. Still roughly about half a second, but again, Rahal seems to have a little bit better time getting onto the DRS straights, and that's negating a lot of Whippy's advantages that he's getting from the DRS.
Jono's
back. Go ahead.
Jono's been setting a decent amount of fastest laps, and he's catching up to RB Lama in the Haas for 14th. So he's starting to make a fight back right now, Jono.
A little bit behind him, Boothie and the Horus has caught Constant Jet on the mediums. This could be a very, very interesting battle because the lead car in this battle has the better tires and will have the better tires for a long period of time. Boothie's decision to go on the Horus under normal circumstances would be good, but if he's held up by Constant for a long period of time, that will actually feed back into hurting him. But he's already gotten by Constant Jet without too much of an issue. But he gets a time penalty in the process for track violations. Books is right there on the back end of Whippy now, and a little bit farther back. This battle is getting very interesting. Snake, Fritz, and Retro are all being held up just a little bit by Collie Boy on the straights. And right now this is actually helping Retro a little bit because he will get the DRS. Oh, wow! Collie Boy, what are you doing? Wow, he veered off the track in the last possible seconds and nearly took out Retro in the process. Not looking like it's harming his pace at all, but that definitely put my heart in my chest for a second. coming onto the start-finish line straight once more. Fritz is trying to make something happen to Retro ahead of him, but meanwhile at the front, Whippy is now within 2/10 of the leader going into turn 3, and he spins! Ray Holes just spun himself out all by himself, coming and putting the power down coming out of turn 3. Your first lead change of the day occurs when your pole sitter loses control all by himself at the line, and he nearly spins out again once he gets going.
That is definitely not what he needed. Indeed, he's gone again, it seems.
Rahul's gone again. The tires are way overheated, and he's having trouble keeping the car straight and letting those tires cool themselves back down. Books is right there behind Whippy now, and this might be Books' best chance to try and make something happen to the Renault ahead of him. Also, the track is gradually getting darker. Now there's a Tracy Point who's gone off. That's Scholl. No, that's not Scholl. That's Constant Jet. Constant Jet has gone off completely there, and Maggots and Beckett's. Thankfully, it does not look like he's going to end up causing an issue for anyone else, but the game gives him a 10-second time penalty for track violations. Now Coley Boy has another 3 seconds worth of time penalty for track violations as well.
That 10-second time penalty puts Constant Jet on 20 seconds. It's not looking good for him. Meanwhile, RB Llama managed to get past Turbo with P13, and now Jono could be getting past Turbo, but Turbo will have the DRS.
This will get very interesting as they're going down that first DRS straight right now. It looks like Yono's not able to do anything to the drivers ahead. Now we're up forward right now. Turbo and Yono both have the softs that are going to be faster than Llama's hards. However, the longer and longer this battle goes, the more and more it's going to fall into the favor of the Haas of Llama. Look at Books. He's got the DRS right behind Whippy. Those tires might be 8 laps worn, but he's not putting up too much of a struggle. Despite that, he's right there on Whippy's rear tail through a lot of these sections right now. Retro now has another time penalty for track violations as he's gotten ahead, he's keeping his position ahead of Fritz for the moment.
And Jono's managed to get past Turbo for P14. And now Jono can try and chase that RB Llama in the Haas.
Turbo's not letting Jono go though. And if Turbo can get a good run onto the DRS straight, he might be able to try and use DRS. He did not. Jono got a better run onto the straight. Fritz is gradually falling off the back of Retro Rixie and Books. It seems like he's not giving up on Whippy whatsoever. He's being very, very aggressive right now. This might be the moment that Jono's been waiting for. He's within half a second of Llama ahead of him. Now loses a bit though. The last 2 bends. The bag is now. Llama makes a huge mistake, putting the power down, coming onto that second DRS straight. Jono has DRS, but I don't think he's going to be close enough to make the move here. He'll have to wait a little bit longer before he can make that attempt for the 13th position here. Riders now has a time penalty for track violations. I normally don't look at time penalties this early, but real quickly, looking at, you made a mention early, Constant Jet has 20 seconds worth of time penalties. The next highest is Plastic Love with 11, Yono with 10th. Retro Rixie has 8 seconds worth of time penalties right now, running 3rd. That could absolutely destroy his race. Also of note, Snake has 3 seconds, Gusty has 3 seconds, Ozza has 5 seconds, and then Fratters, Galvin, and both have 9 seconds, while Llama only has 3 seconds compared to them. Ooh, Yono thought of the last second of making a move on Llama, but didn't have enough time to commit to it. And the battle for the lead, well, more like a stalking for a lead, continues. But I think Books is starting to drop off of Whippy. The tires are finally starting to get to him right now. Rahal is starting to make his way back up to the field. He's gotten by Gusty, and now he's going to set his sights on the other Renault of XRL Snake ahead of him. Fratters, another 3 seconds worth of time penalties. And Llama and Jono neck and neck there in that final chicane. And Llama is going to hold ahead of the McLaren for just now, but Jono is setting himself up for a potential dive going into turn 3. He's right there. He's trying to keep some clean air on the nose of that McLaren. Within 0.2 of a second, this would be the ideal chance, but he thinks better of it, not able to make it happen quite yet. He backs off just a little bit under braking. He's going to probably try and make it happen now on the DRS straight, but the thing is, for Jono, this is about the time that those softs are going to start dropping off, so he needs to get by Llama and get by him fast. He's got the DRS. He's on the inside. This might be the move. They make a little bit of contact and move Jono up into the 13th position now.
Brilliant move from Jono, finally able to get that move done, and now, yeah, his tyres will most likely be falling off, and it will be playing into the hands of Llama.
Llama is right there still. He's still within 0.2 of a second. He might make a move going into Maggots and Beckett's if he feels brave enough. Not yet, though, but he's staying right there. If the McLaren has an issue getting onto that second DRS straight, it will be the perfect chance for Llama to spring out. That's exactly what we're seeing. Llama has DRS. He's going to try and fight back. He's looking to the inside. The McLaren will give him room. Give the position back to Llama for the moment. No, they're fighting back. The crossover from the McLaren, neck and neck. But the Haas has the inside line. That's preferred lane of choice. So the Haas will hold on to that spot for just a little bit longer.
It's just brilliant racing from the driver on the soft tyre and the driver on the hard compounded tyre. It's just what we want to see at the moment.
A little bit further up in the field, Books, although he's not putting as much direct pressure on Whippy, he's using the DRS to negate the disadvantages of the worn soft tyre compounds. Books is trying desperately to stay out on those softs as long as he can. The sky over the track is getting darker, and the threat of rain is becoming ever more and more clear. Because of that, Books is going to probably try and be the first person to jump onto intermediates if rain comes down. The thing is, if we have a scenario where no rain falls, when does Books make the decision to go over to the mediums? We're roughly halfway through this race, and if he goes longer than that, the advantage of running the worn softs over fresh mediums will start going away from him. He needs to decide and commit to a strategy fast. For almost everyone else between 1st and 9th who are on the same mediums they started with, they can afford to run the mediums a little bit longer and not sacrifice their pace for very long.
Jono is on the inside of Orbula, safety car, Boofy's gone.
Boofy has killed himself. And that's the same place on track that he went off and died in qualifying. And the mandatory safety car that's going to bunch the entire field up.
I think that is what the people that were quite far off in the field is what they needed, because they're going to be all bunched up. But the thing is, what is Books going to do on the softs? Will he pit? But Turbo is in the pits. Turbo is waiting
Retro is
5
pitting,
seconds.
Fritz is pitting.
Fritz gets a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane.
Snake is pitting. Rahal is staying out though. Gusty is the next driver. What will he do? He is coming into the pit lane also, but Ozda is going to stay out on track for a little bit longer.
I think Jono just got that move done on Llama just before when the safety car get out. Whippy's been
disqualified from session for ignoring the... What? But he's the leader! How does that happen? He's the race leader. Right now, his priority needs to be to catch the pace car. So how could he be disqualified?
Ooh. That is a very weird one.
I'm gonna call bullcrap on that. Game, that's bullcrap. Right now, Whippy's #1 priority as the leader is to catch the safety car. He did not come into the pits So, and he didn't have anybody directly around him. There's no reason for him to
Rain's
get
falling.
disqualified like that.
Rain is starting to fall on the track, and some drivers have made their pit stops due to the safety car when there was no raindrops falling, and now the rain has started to fall.
This also means that Ray Hall is now going to re-inherit the top spot.
Jono is into the pit, and he fits onto the intermediate. He'll be fitting on the intermediate. He will be waiting 5 seconds. The penalty he accumulated earlier in the race. So he's going to be the first driver to be going on intermediates.
So now with the track going wet, Jono could be in a very interesting position. If he can catch up to the field, he might be able to pick up a few extra positions. Right now, there's only seems to be 1 or 2 drivers swapping and coming in the pits right now. That's very interesting. Fritz is one of them, Ray Hall. So we have only 2 drivers, it looks like, who have gone ahead and jumped into the pits to swap over their tires. This could be big for Jono, because if Jono can catch up to the back of the field before they come back to the start-finish line, he may pick up a bunch of extra positions by virtue of being the first driver to put on the intermediates. And for a driver like Books, being the first in the lead pack to put on the intermediates, he's going to be in a very good position for this race. Now, the other question, though, is that how wet is the track? Because if the track doesn't get too wet, the intermediate swap might not be a good decision. The track needs to be at least moderately damp in order for the intermediate decision to pay off.
Now this part of the race is going to get very interesting. Everyone on most drivers on intermediates. It'll be a very interesting end to the race. And the rain is starting to come down pretty heavy right now. We're seeing Fradders go into the pits on softs. Okay. We're just waiting for Fradders, Jono and Coolie Boy to catch up to the field. And we can go racing once again. And the safety car will come in this lap. Bunch of cars are going into the pit lane on the restart to go on to those intermediates. Plastic Love has gone wide and has lost a bunch of positions. And you got everyone into the pits, right, getting those intermediates. Rahal was leading the race before during the safety car. Is now 11 due to that pit stop. Asda will be 13 for Fritz. 14th Frados is in the 50th. Constant Jet is with the midfield runners, but he is in P16. He is a lap down. But this race has turned on its head due to this intermediate conditions.
I was muted this entire time. Llama and Books are in position to take over the race lead here, the top 2 spots, because the top 3, they're very, very much, they're tiptoeing around the track right now, trying to hold their cars on, and the track is only getting wetter as we're going on here. Books is closing in stupid fast on the leaders right now. Like, stupid fast. He's already gotten by Gusty.
Books
Retro and Snake are coming in.
Books probably made the right decision to come in when he did. The others came in the lap that the safety car was going in and lost a bunch of positions due to that.
Plastic Glove now has a penalty for speeding in the pit lane as he's coming in to get off his soft tire compounds. Is coming in as well, so everyone is now officially swapping over to the intermediate tires. The thing is, though, Llama, Yono, and Polyboy, they were all outside of the top 10, and now, all of a sudden, they're 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. This race has really gotten turned on its head in a lot of really, really strange ways.
Just the craziness of the first race of the season.
Also of note, Ozda is now up into the 7th position, and he's one of only 2 drivers. Fritzman, the other one, does not have any time penalties right now. So Ozda might still walk out of here with a somewhat salvaged race, depending on how many time penalties are on the drivers ahead of him by the event's end. Jono has pretty much caught Llama for the 2nd and 3rd position, but here's the other thing. DRS is no longer going to be, and someone's gone around, that's Plastic Love. He's going to spin around the same place that those Ferraris spun out in qualifying. Anyways, as I was saying, there is no longer any DRS. Jono's already gone by Llama. With no DRS, it's going to make it a lot harder for overtakes to actually stick now. Torpedo, your mic is self-destructing. Okay, it's fixed itself. Alright, Snake is right there behind Fritz, and a little bit farther up, Retro Rixie is trying to make something happen against Ozza. He's going to look to the outside of that Ferrari. And yes, Retro Rixie is now ahead of Ozda, and will set his sights on Schold ahead of him now. There's a little train that's basically formed from Schold all the way back to Gusty. All of these drivers, yes, close enough to impact each other's race, but there is no DRS available, so every position here is going to have to come by sheer driver ability and avoiding mistakes. Snake was falling all the way back to the 10th position. He's watching as Fritz is now putting his pressure on Ozda for the 8th position. is leading after Whippy unfairly got disqualified, is now up to 5th, and he's saying his side's on Coley Boy. So he's probably going to try and get by him, but the gap right now between Rahal and the leader is about 16 seconds. I think Books has this race wrapped up, assuming nothing really bizarre happens, like a racing point going sideways. That's Constant Jet, who has turned around and wrecked his car on the second DRS straight. That's a virtual safety car. That car still hasn't gotten away properly, and the field's catching up to it. We're under a virtual safety car now. And that ended up right in front of that little gaggle of cars from 3rd back to about 10th. There we are, Constant Jet's now pulling into the pits to swap out the wing. We should see the field go green relatively shortly here. Fritz might drive-through penalty for Books. Our race leader has just gotten a drive-through penalty for speeding under the virtual safety car. And the race, which was basically his to win, has now been yanked from him. And this means that Jono might be in a position to win this race now.
Alright, incident on lap 1. They're probably leading the race. Quite immense for Jono for this one. Also, Gusty got a drive-through penalty as well.
This race, real quickly looking at the penalties. This is interesting because Jono is going to take the race lead. He has 8 seconds worth of penalty while Llama has 3 seconds. So if Llama can make something happen, Llama could actually close in on Jono. If he can close that gap, if he can close the gap down on Jono a bit, Llama might take this race victory, but he needs to close the gap between himself and the McLaren right now in order for that to happen. Constant Jet, 3-second time penalty for track violations as well. He's now at 18 seconds worth of penalties. Collie Boy, who is in 4th, has 6 seconds worth of penalties. Rahal has 5 seconds, as does Schold behind him. Schold right now is holding up a train of cars. Retro right behind him only has 3 seconds, and then Ozda and Fritz behind them both have no penalties whatsoever. Sink has only 3 seconds worth of time penalties, and we will see Gusty, I imagine, serving his drive-through penalty relatively shortly. Our race leader has not served his drive-through penalty yet. Not sure why, but he has decided not to serve that penalty yet.
He'll need to serve it soon though, otherwise he will pick up a racing penalty and that could boot him off the podium.
Rahal
which
has just gotten by Collie Boy, I'm sorry. There is still a chance for this race to go respectably well for Rahal. I don't think Rahal has time to catch Jono, but he might be able... I don't think he can catch Llama either, but he's 4th right now. I think he's got a potential 3rd in the bag, depending on how long it takes for Books to clear that drive-through penalty.
Oh, Llama's got another 3-second time penalty.
Ooh, and that's probably... and that would pretty much take Llama out of contention for this race. So right now, it's basically Jono's race to lose, but I was saying the same thing for Books, and then he suddenly got that drive-through penalty, and he's gone another lap without serving it now.
Yeah, I think he needs to serve it this lap.
Retro's just gotten by Schold. He's now up into the 6th position, and Collie Boy will be the next one for him to focus on.
Gusty is going to go in and serve his drive-through right now, so...
The gap between 1st and 4th right now is 18.5 seconds. So Book's main focus right now, because the race is pretty much out of his hands, he needs to stay ahead of Rahal on the racetrack. Fritz now has another 3-second time penalty for track violations. So now Ozda is the only car on track who does not have any penalties. And that entire gaggle of cars from Snake all the way up to Retro continues to go on. Jalbin, another time penalty. Surely we'll see our current race leader book serve his drive-through penalty now. We can't keep staying out like this.
Yeah,
yes, this is it. He's finally coming in. So Jono will now inherit our race lead. And Llama should inherit second. And Llama, who was out of the points main positions and honestly partially under threat of going lap down all day long, is now looking to walk out here with a podium. Oh, and Jalbin has just gone off and died. And Maggots and Beckett is the same place that we saw. Oh, and that's a virtual safety car as well. It's the same place we saw Boothie go off. We're under a virtual safety car now.
Another one has gone. And that's the first. This race is getting even more crazier than it was before.
But Jono should wrap up this race win, though. The gap between himself and Llama is 3.7 seconds, actually a little bit more than that now. Books now has another time penalty for track violations. He's in 4th position after that penalty, and he has 11 seconds worth of penalty now. Books might honestly lose his position to Collie Boy as well when this race ends. Fratters drive-through penalty for speeding under a safety car. However, Fratters was outside of the points paid position. That's not going to have as much of an effect on the race's outcome. This is getting interesting because the gap between first and second has actually been dropping steadily. Rama might still be able to fight for this race win here. He's only has 2 seconds less penalties than Jono, and he's 2.7 seconds off the back of Jono right now. So if he can pull out another 0.8 or so seconds in these last 2 laps, he might steal the win at the end.
Gosty's all over the back of Plastic Love for P13 at the moment, but he's not finding a way to get any closer to the Ferrari.
Llama's just closed down to about 2 seconds. Now he's less than 2 seconds. This race could honestly go to Llama, the driver who hadn't even been in the points paid position all day long. It's right, he's hanging right on that bubble of about 2 seconds. If you told me that Llama was going to win this race 10 laps ago, I would have laughed at you. But now there's a serious possibility. Jono as well, if he wins this race, it's going to be crazy for him also. Both these drivers winning this race is going to be absolutely crazy. Oh, wow. This is nuts. Meanwhile, Scholl continues to lead a little train as Ozda is right there behind him, but can't seem to figure out a way to get by. The good news for Ozda, though, is he has no time penalties. As long as he keeps it that way, he will at the very least inherit the position from Scholl. So Ozda has at least a 6 in the books if he continues to avoid time penalties. The gap between first and second now down to 1.7 seconds on their second DRS straight. And they're coming down. It will be 2 to go at the line. This race might slip away from Jono's fingers. So it's gone from Whippy to Rahal to Books to Jono to possibly Llama. We've seen the winner of this race, what seemed like an easy winner for this race, change hands 5 times in a span of about 8 laps.
It's a mental start to the first. Or X3 in season 3, and I think it's a start that most people would want or do want to see.
Retro Rixie has now gotten himself back into the points position as he is latched onto the back of this little train of cars from Scholl on back. But of note, Retro Rixie has 3 seconds of time penalty, as do the 2 drivers ahead of him, so he is not in position to overtake and get more points unless he can make an overtake happen on the racetrack itself. Fritz continues to try to put pressure on Ozda, and Ozda is just killing behind Scholl, knowing that as long as he stays behind that tracing point, he will be in a decent position. There's also the thing that Boy has 9 seconds worth of penalty, and Schold is bringing the train up to them, so that might be another position in Ozda's favor, and could also be a position in Schold's favor if nothing goes wrong. The gap between first and second is at 1.8 seconds right now. Llama needs to keep it below 2 seconds in order to keep that win. It's at 1.9 seconds at the end of the second DRS straight. He brings it down just a little bit under the braking zone now. Yellow flag, Fratters! Something has happened to Fratters, and he's been involved in an accident with Constant Jet.
Constant Jet's got less in-plate damage.
The gap between first and seconds opened up to a little bit more than 2 seconds once more. Now it drops. It's dropped again, 1.7 seconds at the moment, as they're going through the technical sections. 1.668 seconds. Rahal, 3-second time penalty for track violations. 1.868 seconds, 1.935 seconds. Jono seems to have a little bit better run gain onto these straights. The gap is still less than 2 seconds right now between first and second. 1.7, 1.8. 1.835, 1.7, 1.8. I'm gonna sound like a broken record here. The race is absolutely on here. Llama just needs to figure out a way to keep right there. It's gonna be extremely, extremely close. This race might be won on penalty countback. Oh, that's the closest that that's the closest Llama has been to Jono for a while. I think Jono had a bit of an issue there, going through Maggots and Beckett's, but coming onto the second DRS straight, it's plummeted down to 1.2 seconds right now.
It's going to be a tight finish.
Seconds. 1.168 seconds. Llama just needs to be within 2 seconds of Jono to take home this victory. Ozda gets a time penalty at the last second of the race.
So no one's going to have a penalty-free race.
And at the line, Jono crosses first, and Llama is going to take the win on penalty countback. Llama, who was not even a remote factor all race long, is going to win today. Now here comes Rahal. As he comes by, he'll have to settle for third. Booked, and Rahal had an uncertain time penalty, so he gets another 5 seconds add to that time, but I think he'll still take third because Books has another Books has an uncertain penalty as well, so he's going to finish fourth. Boy will come home fifth, but Ozda is going to leapfrog all of them because although Ozda still got that penalty late, Ozda only had 3 seconds. Everyone ahead of him had way more, so Ozda leapfrogs himself into fourth at the race is in. Fritz finds himself fifth, Retro 6th, Snake 7th, Books 8th, Scholl falls all the way to 9th, and Boy all the way to 10th. Turbo is going to cross the line in the 11th position, and Gusty is looking to cross the line in 12th, but he might lose that position to Plastic Love, considering... No, Plastic Love is way more penalties, so Plastic Love is going to take that, and then Constant Jet will round out the field. Oh, this was bizarre. That entire race was bizarre.
And I don't think anyone expected this race to go as it did.
But your race winner is going to be RB Llama by virtue of having fewer penalties over the driver right ahead of him. Yeah, driver of the day, yeah, I'll say so, coming back from being one of the first drivers to switch onto the intermediates, let him gain a bunch of positions, and then avoiding penalties significantly helped as well. This is going to be amazing for him, without a doubt. Well, that wraps up your race. Real quickly, we're going to try and invite Llama into the party and see what he has to say about that extremely unlikely victory.
Yeah, I don't think he was probably going to be expecting it either. Like, especially, like, how the first lap ended up. Like, him falling way down the field. and then just going on to win the race due to like Whippy's disqualification roll messing up,
All right.
and also
In the party right now, we have Llama. Llama, include your audio. Congratulations on that win that came out of nowhere. How did you do that? I'm just going to say this right now. The lead changed hands about 5 times at the end, and you ended up taking it at the end. I cannot say enough. Like, you shocked me with that. I can barely believe that you did that. Alright, well, real quick question I do have, though. Do you think you can continue to bring these results going through the rest of this season? Alright, well, there's your word from Llama. Unless you have anything else to say. Alright, it appears not. So anyways, that's going to be pretty much the end of our race today. And that was craziness. I do want to say real quickly, though, I do maintain that this race was kind of unfairly robbed away from Whippy, considering what happened there. Unless there's some weird extra thing that I'm not aware of, that's just bizarre.
yeah, it is really bizarre on how he got disqualified from that race.
But anyways, yeah, beyond that, what do you think is the biggest takeaway from this race going forward into the rest of the X3 season?
Ooh. That is a difficult. Ooh.
I'll say this, at least
Yeah.
for me, I think one of the biggest things to take into account is that we saw Ray Hall coming back time and time again. There were multiple instances where Ray Hall had a good race and good results snatched from him. I think we know now that Ray Hall definitely has a potential to be a championship contender because he was able to minimize all those mistakes and was able to come home third at the end. So I personally think he's established himself as a title contender very early on here.
And it'll be interesting to see how he'll do in the next race at Azerbaijan as well.
But anyways, that's going to be the end of our broadcast here at Silverstone. In a week's time, X3 will be running at Azerbaijan. And a little bit later today on the other XRL channel, you can catch X2 at the same circuit. But anyways, I've been SaintLear13. I've been joined by XRL Torpedo. We gotta say sayonara, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Cheerio.